All right, Bryan Stern is a Army and Navy combat vet, and he's helping people trapped in Kiev in Ukraine. He's in Kiev right now. Bryan, you just got there, and the first thing you were met with was an air raid siren this morning. Does that tell you President Putin's not done with the rest of the country? I mean, he's not going to settle just for taking the east.
Yeah, I actually briefed, oddly enough, yesterday morning. Yesterday morning, I briefed my team to kind of enjoy the lull right now. There's a kind of a not tactical pause, but this we're at the bottom of a trough on our, we're in the bottom end of a golf swing, not the top end. And I briefed my team to be ready for Odessa and Mykolaiv, for an increase in hostilities there and bombings and everything else. That what we've seen in Mariupol and Kherson, I fully expect to happen in Odessa and Mykolaiv. And this morning, we woke up to Odessa being hit. Yeah. So my whole team is kind of not laughing about that, but the Russians
they've made you look even more insightful than they thought at the beginning.
Yeah, the Russians call me Volshabnik, which in Russian means like the wizard or like magician, is what the Russians call me. That's what the Russian intelligence service calls me, which is kind of funny, because oddly I have a talent, if you will, of reading the tea leaves better than most, and that ability to read the tea leaves helps us do hard target rescues in the denied areas. That's what allows me to get Americans.
So Project Dynamo is like no other charity. You're not doing tents and food, and they may be elements of what you do, but you actually go well into eastern Ukraine in some of the dodgiest, most dangerous areas, and you've been incredibly successful in pulling people out of there, rescuing them, even from Russian forces that have them in custody. How do you do this?
That's the art. How does David Copperfield make the Brooklyn Bridge disappear in front of a crowd of 2,000 people?
You got to give me a little bit more than David Copperfield here, because I know that you're able to negotiate. You said Russian intelligence has a nickname for you. You're able to talk to them.
Yeah, being able to it's like any other skill. It's like being a doctor or really anything else. Being able to diagnose a situation helps you come up with treatment. It's the same thing. Being able to understand the threat in a way, that I can figure out ways to mitigate that threat. So if I
can you give me an example? I mean, you've done some incredible rescues. Can you give me an example of where you kind of did the impossible, and maybe you can give me your David Copperfield recipe?
Yeah. So Kirillo Alexandrov is one of our biggest successes that we had. Kirillo was an American citizen. He's the 27 years old from Detroit, Michigan. Him and his wife his wife is a soon-to-be naturalized citizen, not quite yet, but on her way. They are the first two survivors of war crimes since World War II. He was arrested for espionage, charged with 11 felonies, and was in captivity for 37 days. Okay, held by the Russians, about 100 kilometers deep behind enemy lines. Where he was so deep, it was actually safe. It was beyond the war. Actually.
Okay, I would rate your chances at getting in there or negotiating with the Russians and taking somebody out, especially an American right now, who may have there may be an intelligence get there by questioning him, because given his background, I would rate your chances at 0, and I would be completely wrong.
You would be completely wrong, because he's sitting safe. He'll be in America tomorrow.
That's amazing work that you do.
And we've done this repeatedly. Robert Platt was one of our first big ones of the war. He had a Russian tank on one end of his street and Russian armored personnel carrier on the opposite end, with Russian troops patrolling through his backyard. And we were able to get him out. He was a 23-year U.S. Army veteran. His father was a 26-year Army veteran. Hardcore paratrooper instructor, all kinds of stuff. And kind of would have been the patron saint of Russian propaganda if he was caught. And again, we were able to do all kinds of things to get him out. It's all about understanding this. Understanding the threat is the name of the game. So if I understand how many checkpoints any of these people have to get through, and what the search procedures are, as an example, at all these checkpoints, well, then I can develop a plan and a strategy on how to mitigate those procedures and exploit.
Do they know you have these people when you're moving them?
No.
You're taking a hell of a risk.
No, they don't know. Usually when we have drivers that are moving these people around, it's kind of an underground railroad is kind of what it looks like. By design, exactly for this purpose. By design, our drivers, when they have an American in the back seat, they don't know themselves. They don't know usually that they're even working for me. And I do that for two reasons. One is I want to protect them. It's not I want to put them in danger and hide from them. I really want them to not be able to say, I have no idea. I'm just a driver, some guy. I don't know. It's just another Tuesday for me. No big deal, right? Further, if they did know, imagine you're the driver and you have Kirillo Alexandrov in your back seat and you knew that he's an escaped fugitive, right, for espionage, and you roll up to that Russian checkpoint, I know if it were me, I'd be scared. I'd be nervous, right? When I'm looking at the Russian security guy, the Russian intelligence guy, the DNR, the Chechens, whoever it may be, I'm going to be nervous because I now know that I have valuable cargo in the back. Well, that nervousness, people like me are trained to look for that nervousness. So if a driver rolls up and he's nervous and scared, and he looks nervous and scared, someone's going to say, out of the car.
Is this hostages for cash?
No, we don't pay money. I don't have I wish I could. I don't, believe me. I wish I had the resources to pay rent.
Why do they hand them over to you?
They don't. Kirillo Alexandrov is a current escaped fugitive from justice from the Russian government. Nothing's handed over. There is no. I try very often with Kirillo Alexandrov as an example. He's kind of the good case study because he was like the worst set of circumstances ever, right? It's Apollo 13. Everything about the case is bad. They still have his passport today.
How'd you get him out? Or can you tell me that?
It's kind of complicated. What I did was we had done some rehearsal. So I did two tracks. One track was negotiating, trying to explain that he's a nobody, because in fact he is a nobody. He's not a spy. He's not a mercenary. He wasn't fighting. He's just an American kid. That's it. His only crime committed is that he's an American. Okay. So negotiating with the Russians through proxies and some interlocutors. And at the same time, I planned for a unilateral operation, right? Which is go and get him, right? A rescue. My preference is always to negotiate a release. It's safer for everybody. It's better for everybody. Certainly manages the risk. It's just better. It's more amicable.
But I just don't believe they handed them over to you. So what? They got something.
They didn't. In fact, when I got Kirillo Alexandrov, I did that operation on Victory Day, and I'll tell you about that in a second. 5 hours after I already had him, the negotiators called to continue negotiations. They didn't know. They went to go. Negotiations are over, and they go, well, what do we do with Kirillo? And I go, I already have him. And they go, yeah, but what do we do with Kirillo? It didn't even register. And I go, look, I already have him. I don't need to talk anymore. And they go, please don't play games with us. I go, look, I've never met Kirillo before, right? And they go, da? And I go, yes. And I go, so if I've never met him before, and we've never existed in time and space, hold on 1 second, I'll send you a selfie. And I literally take a selfie on my phone with them on speaker, and I send it to them. I go, well, you know what he looks like, and you know what I look like. And they were like, very angry.
Go check now. Where is this Kirillo guy? Right? Why is he not in our custody? But you still haven't told me how you got him out. But I guess I can't squeeze you beyond what we got. I think.
So, no, I mean, I can tell you a little bit. What we did is we got him out on Victory Day, okay, on the big Russian holiday. All right.
Yes.
If we go back, it was May 9th. If we go back to May 8th, the entire world in Russia and in Ukraine and in America and all over Europe was convinced that was going to be the day, right? World War III was going to start that day. Putin's giving a big speech, as he always does. All the other NGOs left Ukraine. The Red Cross left Ukraine. There was talk about chemical attack, mass bombings everywhere, all kinds of stuff, right? Reading the tea leaves, I said, I don't buy it for a second. I don't. Previously was Easter, right? On Easter Sunday, we did a dry run. I ran the route from where Kirillo was to where he needed to be, more or less, to defeat a series of checkpoints that were really terrible where he was. In this part of Ukraine where he's being held, he's a rock star. He's an American spy that is caught. This is headline news. Every blog post knows who he is. Everyone knows what he looks like. And oh yeah, by the way, he's covered in head to toe tattoos. So you can't exactly hide the guy, right? I can't take him from one old man and make him into another old man because he's a young guy covered in tattoos. And everyone knows about him. So the first leg of where he was to the next jurisdiction over was the hardest part. That was really the hardest part. To say nothing of the fact of, I got to do this with not a single piece of paper. They have his documents. He doesn't have a passport. He's got nothing, right? So,
and every checkpoint's going to ask you for those documents.
Yeah. They're very, very, very thorough. They're very thorough. When at some of these checkpoints, when you drive through them, you can expect to see military male on the sides of the road, men on the side of the road in their socks and underwear, stripped all the way down, looking for Nazi tattoos or Ukrainian tattoos is what they're looking for. Okay. So it's very invasive, very invasive. So on Easter, playing the odds, we did to collect intelligence. We did a dress rehearsal, right? What I like to call FMP, full mission profile, which is a military term, which is we do everything that we're going to do on game day. Everything, every little thing. It's a full dress rehearsal. And what we learned on Easter Sunday is that because it was a holiday, that there's lesser manning at all the blog posts. The men are going to church. They're going to go pray. The guys that were left there were kind of the JV team, not the varsity, right? Everyone has the day off, right? Even in the war zone, right? Every year in Afghanistan on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, was always big attacks because the Taliban always knew that we're celebrating Christmas, right? So, or Thanksgiving or what have you. So I kind of took a page out of that manual and I applied it to this. Yeah. We did the dress rehearsal on Easter Sunday, learned all kinds of things, recognizing that the entire world is focused on Victory Day in Russia and Vladimir Putin.
Did you get him out of a cell? Did you get him out of a? You got him. Was he chained to a radiator? Where was the guy?
He was not. He was not in bondage. He was not in bondage, but kind of hard to explain how he was being held without giving away some secrets because we even manipulated that as well. We were able to move him in ways that seemed to make sense to them, but was really our ideas through straight manipulation. Straight manipulation.
Right, you are a magician. Look, how many people have you gotten out of there? Because you just take a lot of people that are caught in the crossfire, like in Mariupol, you were in there, and you get them out. You arrange safe passage for them, and you rescue kids. You've rescued children with heart problems. You've rescued families that have been living underground. How many? I mean, it's beyond the hundreds now.
Oh yeah. We're I don't know our exact number, but we're either close to 3,000 or over 3,000 just in Ukraine.
That's awesome. Look, you do not run on empty fumes. You're a charity, and people have to support Project Dynamo. And if you want to support a charity on the ground, I spent a lot of time in war zones. If there are lots of charities on the ground that do a lot of talking, but there are a few that do what you do and just roll up your sleeves, get down the road and do it. How do people support you, Bryan?
We need donations real bad. ProjectDynamo.org is our website. We take every kind of everything. We take wires, we take credit cards, we take everything. Every dollar goes to an operation. I'm a volunteer. I am not paid. And I'm the head of the whole organization. I'm not paid. Our Ukrainian friends that help us on the ground, we pay them. And in Afghanistan, where we still have operations rescuing people, we pay them also. But our American staff are all volunteers.
Can I finish with asking you, where do you think this is going? I mean, we are now 4 months into this, right? It seems to be deepening, more weapons arriving, both sides talking about escalation.
Yep.
Just, you know, as you mentioned at the top of the interview, Odessa, a 9-story apartment building was hit by a missile overnight. More destruction, more civilian areas. A mall was hit this week. It just keeps coming. Where does this go from here?
Well, I'll say a few points. Number one, in the scheme of war, 120 days is nothing. Afghanistan was 20 years. This isn't even a hockey season, right? So when you say it like that, it seems like it's forever, but it's actually just the beginning. We haven't seen the main event yet. We've only seen the opening act. Odessa is an excellent case study. What I've been screaming to everybody about is we have yet to see the Russian bomber fleet, and there's hundreds of them, you know, the B-52s of Russia, the big monster strategic bombers. We haven't really seen those work. We haven't seen those fly a whole lot. The Odessa strike was a Tu-22 strategic bomber, supersonic bomber like a B-1, right? Not as good, but almost. That to me is a huge indicator, huge indicator. The Russian arsenal has 63 of those damn things. They can strike with impunity, and they are beyond the range of Ukrainian air defense. There is absolutely nothing to stop them in Ukraine right now. The only thing to stop them is fighter planes, which Ukraine doesn't have many of. That's it. That bomber flew over from the Black Sea. Odessa's on the water. Mykolaiv is on the water. It's not a secret that Vladimir Putin wants to connect Moldova to Crimea. That's been a goal for years. That's not even magic, right? So to me, Russian doctrine dictates that for the first 180 days of any conflict that they've ever been in, that they always send the trash first. They always send the junk. They don't value their soldiers the same way we do. They honestly don't care. So truly don't care. It's cultural. So 120 days in, when the Ukrainians say, well, we lost 200, but they lost 200, good news, we're going nose to nose, it's kind of silly to say, actually, because there's a whole lot more Russians than there are Ukrainians. So at that battle rhythm, 1 for 1, Ukraine loses, and they lose huge. If you bring in the technology piece and the bomber piece, it's really terrible. It really is. So I fully predict that this is just getting started. I fully predict that Odessa gets hit bad, but not terrible. I fully expect that Mykolaiv turns into Mariupol. That's what I fully expect. I have no doubt in my mind at all that the strategic goals of Russia, which are many as it relates to this war, one of those is connecting Moldova, the Transnistria forest, to the corridor, right? Russians, the DNR guys and some of the Russian troops, they may not be the smartest of all people, but the Russian strategists are smart. They are very well educated. They're very well read, and they don't go to the bathroom without making a plan. I have a very, very, very hard time to believe that they haven't thought a lot of these things through, even with their failures. So there's a plans officer right now sitting in the Kremlin somewhere, giving President Putin options based on his assessment of things. And that assessment leads him to believe they got this. This won't be a problem.
And this may be, in their mind, at least all of Ukraine. So anyway, yeah. Bryan Stern, Project Dynamo, ProjectDynamo.org.
.org. Yes, please. Yeah. Yes, please. We need help. These things are very expensive. Our demand signal for rescues is going up, not down. I have 4 American citizens that are currently in some stage of captivity as we speak that I'm trying to get out of denied areas. We only do hard stuff. I'm not a bus service. I'm not a taxi service. We only do the really hard places that nobody can get. We did 850 people out of Mariupol in the last 3 weeks. The Red Cross has done 112 in 125 days.
Incredible.
And they've got $9 billion budget, and I'm on a shoestring.
Well, people need you there. People need you there, Bryan. Thanks so much for taking the time. And I know you're a busy guy, and I better let you go because I've been chasing you for 3 days. So I appreciate it very much.
Thanks so much for having me, Dana. I really appreciate it.